Joining us now for an exclusive interview is Hershey CEO Michelle Buck. It's great to see you again, Michelle. My question, and last time we were talking about Halloween, now we're talking about Easter and Valentine's Day, and it sounds like what you're seeing is that the grocers were buying early. All the seasonal trends are out of whack. Does that mean that demand has been pulled forward and those sales have been pulled forward?
You know, we had a really strong Q4 with net sales growth of almost 6% and EPS growth over 16%. And really throughout the entire year, seasons was one of the key drivers as consumers really wanted the comfort and the normalcy associated with seasonal traditions and rituals at a time when COVID uprooted their lives. So yes, we've seen consumers want the products and retailers have leaned in, seeing the success of seasons in 2020 to get a jump start on 2021. So we're not worried that it's going to impact the business negatively, that they took those early shipments, but rather we are just seeing more demand for the seasons and we expect Valentine's and Easter to be strong.
It's so interesting always to talk to you throughout this pandemic to see what the consumer is doing, what surprised you and what you've been able to anticipate. The Smores, for instance, phenomenon and how that boomed over the summer. Michelle, how do you figure out where the consumer is going now that we are starting to get vaccinated and then that should only multiply and pick up and we should resume some sort of normal behavior? How do you position for what comes next and what sort of trends will be in demand?
Yeah, you know, we spend a lot of time trying to get real live research, constantly communicating with consumers and asking them what they're doing, listening on social media and observing, and then also looking at data and analytics to help us. So, for example, this past year, we noticed that wherever COVID case counts were elevated, we were seeing increased sales of Smores ingredients. And then we were able to use the case count trajectory as a foreshadow of where we should focus some of those efforts and build displays and put media in those markets. So I think it's important during this time to be, have your finger on the pulse of those trends because they are shifting rapidly, as we saw this year with how fast e-commerce grew or the example I just shared.
Commodity price inflation across all sorts of areas. Are you feeling the pinch as it relates to sugar and cocoa and other raw materials you use?
You know, we certainly have seen freight inflation be a big factor, and I think we're hearing that across the industry. So that's really the biggest piece that we're seeing a big impact, not so much on cocoa, and that's really a function of the fact that we hedge 3 to 24 months out, and also cocoa butter, which is used for chocolate, has not seen the kind of price increase that cocoa powder used in baking products has seen.
But does that mean that the consumer is still going to be paying higher prices because you mentioned the freight inflation, transportation costs that we're seeing across the industry? I mean, food inflation is happening broadly. How much is it going to happen in your category and with your products?
Yeah, so I think there is some inflation on our products. And, certainly I think all of us in the industry try and balance making sure we've got great value for the consumer. We did announce some pricing on a seasonal portion of our product portfolio. That doesn't start until the holiday season this coming year and continuing for the next couple seasons. But certainly we always balance making those decisions about how we can operate more efficiently to absorb some of those inflationary costs and where we need to move forward with some kind of pricing.
The one sort of blemish in the portfolio and in the numbers, Michelle, is the mints and gum. Is that because we're all wearing masks and we don't need to freshen our breaths as much, or is this a part of a secular decline in these categories?
You really hit the point. Mints and gum are functional. The rest of our chocolate portfolio is very emotional. It's about the taste, connectivity, but mints and gum are about breath freshening. And once people needed to start isolating and they weren't out and about, the functional need for those products really, subsided. So certainly as we get into this year and hopefully the vaccine, gets out there, people are out and about a bit more, I think we will slowly see that recover versus where it was during the height of the pandemic.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.